Clunes Town Hall Stage A remedial works project that Hattam Shire Council's done in collaboration with funding from RDV. This project's been ongoing for quite some time and been developed for a number of years, and I'm really pleased to be able to unleash it on Clunes again. The revitalised Town Hall from the 1870s, such an iconic building for the township, but also quite well known throughout Victoria, perhaps even Australia. So I'll take you inside and show you around a few bits and pieces and let you know what's happened and hopefully inform a few people about what's been happening here. So come in. So step in here, these are the Borough Offices. These are These are virtually untouched from back in the day. This is where a lot of the town's clerks and a lot of the internal workings of the local shire occurred. So this room's had quite a bit of work done to it. A lot of cracking fixed up in the walls. All the solid plaster reinstated and repainted. All the joinery taken out and put back in. So you can see it's looking like it was back in its original grandeur through here. So this is the hallway with the archways that were effectively rebuilt. All the original shapes and mouldings all been in some places replaced and reset, rerun. The ceilings replaced in here. A lot of the walls have been patched and rendered, and the paintwork reinstated as its original colour. Anyone who's been to the Clunes Town Hall would most likely remember it for its main hall and its amazing features, and a lot of history is evident based around what you see on the walls, and it's a very iconic and special room. Which many generations have really lived in and enjoyed, and it's great that it's still in use today by the local community. So this room is upstairs at the Living Town Hall and effectively was turned into a projector room at some stage when film came along. So it's also called a bio room. So the room's really, it shows a lot of the town's history, funnily enough, in graffiti on the walls. A lot of people who would have worked up here running the projectors have written messages and dates and different pieces of art and so forth on the walls. And the architect was fairly adamant that we retain a lot of the original inscriptions, and we've done the best, or the builder's done the best he can to keep a lot of that. Although a large part of this wall was severely damaged. You could put your hand through the wall to the outside in some places, in some of the cracks. So effectively this wall was completely rebuilt and re-rendered. The ceilings were lath and plastered all over again, and you're basically left with what you've got today, which is still remarkably original in its own right, and the builders have done a great job in bringing it back to life. So this is the courthouse of the Clunes Town Hall. So this work that we've done here was additional to the original scope of Stage A, which was the main building and the Borough Offices. So effectively the cracking was fairly severe in the wall over on this side of the room. It went all the way to the ceiling and carried on right through this part of the building on this wall as well. So the front of the building tilted forwards and the cracking occurred on these parts. They effectively let go in these areas. So this wall here was, the bricks were, the wall was partially demolished and rebuilt in sections. It had stitching through some of the mortar, and everything was rebuilt as per the specification that was given us from the architect for the rest of the building. So the barrister's room over here had a bit of work done to it. this whole door was removed. There's a large crack above the doorway which was rebuilt. This window was pulled out and a lot of the ceilings were replaced. And as you can see, it sort of looks like it did back in the day, back in the 1800s, late 1800s and 1900s. So this room here wasn't part of the works required, but it's an interesting room nonetheless. It's the holding cell where a potential convict or someone who's broken the law, who's on trial, used to be held, and just before they went on trial, they'd be in a cage here. They're brought in from this back door and were held here, and then had to plead their case out on the dock out here. And this little doorway here, this little window is where the barrister used to communicate. And of course that's the barrister's room, so he used to speak through a hatch through there. And this room is fairly untouched. It's all built of basalt, and it's fairly robust. The reason the town hall's had all this work done to it effectively is because the building was rotating forwards at the front due to issues with the foundations. The foundations dried out in the drought a number of years ago, which affected the footings, and subsequently the building started cracking and letting go, and this section of the building was the worst affected. It was rotating forwards quite severely here. So the building was underpinned back in 2017. The building was stabilised and monitoring occurred for a year or so, and it's found to have stabilised, and hence the works to reconstruct, which is this stage A project that's gone forward. A lot of work was done to the roof to prevent any water getting in. It was leaking through quite a lot of the building at the front here due to the movement, and also some of the box gutters and slates had shifted over time, so a lot of time was spent by the builder replacing or refixing slate work. A lot of the lead was refixed. The box gutters were replaced with stainless steel in a lot of sections. A lot of the steel work was de-rusted and descaled and repainted. The chimneys had quite a bit of work above the clock tower there. A lot of the feature you see over the archways were repointed, and they're called vissoirs, so they were done by hand. Some of them rebuilt completely, as I mentioned, with the archway at the corner. Really a hell of a lot of work went into the front of this building.